Introducing Armis Centrix, the cyber exposure management platform delivered through 7 modular products. Today, we'll have a look at the foundational module of the Armis Centrix platform, which is Asset Management and Security, oftentimes abbreviated to the acronym AMS. AMS delivers a powerful and streamlined approach to asset management that enables you to stay on top of your inventory. And as a quick spoiler alert, everything I show in this demo today will culminate in how to ultimately enrich the ServiceNow CMDB. With AMS, you quickly uncover and eliminate gaps, you prioritize all your risks and exposures associated with your assets, and you can ensure compliance with regulations and industry standards. Armis also delivers unique actionable network insights and detects and addresses real-time threat actors across your entire cyber attack surface. So we'll take a look at this platform step by step, focusing first and foremost on what you see right when you log into our platform. You see how many devices have connected to your network in the last 14 days or 7 days, whatever my time parameter is, including how many of them are new, meaning they've connected for the first time in the last 7 days. We also show of those devices how many have critical risk, and we'll define risk a bit later on. We'll show you how many detected threat activities Armis has picked up on, and how many open alerts you have, whether they're security-related, network performance, general. Alerts for us are just responses to policies that customers have defined within our platform. Down below those 4 numbers, we also have a very customizable dashboard interface. You have the ability to take a look at your asset inventory, show your IT hygiene, and all of these dashboards have multiple visualizations, and it's easy to add more based on a lot of libraries that we have out of the box and different ways to visualize your entire asset repository. In order to truly understand the depth of what Armis can do, I think it makes sense for us to go ahead and look at that asset inventory. Before I do so, though, let me help you define an asset by Armis's definition. An asset for us is anything that is connected to a customer's network. It can be an IT asset, an IoT or Internet of Things asset. It can be OT, operational technology, or medical devices, often called IoMT, the Internet of Medical Things. An asset for us can also be a cloud asset. An asset for us can also be a code repository or an application. We take a very broad definition, and what you see here as I scroll down is how Armis categorizes all detected assets by type. Now, we don't read from the device itself necessarily that it's a SCADA server or an access point or an IP camera. We intelligently infer based on our asset intelligence engine. The Armis Asset Intelligence Engine today monitors over 7 billion devices globally. So we have a really strong baseline of understanding what assets are, what they should be doing, and what indicates anomalous profile behavior or asset activity. There are 2 other important concepts I want to touch on as we look at our asset inventory here, and those concepts are sites and boundaries. Sites represent my physical location of my asset. Where does this asset physically reside? And they're hierarchical in nature, meaning enterprise sites can hold Switzerland and US enterprise regions. Within the US, I can have New York and Palo Alto. This helps our customers with good categorization of where their assets are physically located. Boundaries, on the other hand, are more flexible. Boundaries are logical or functional groupings by the customer's definition. Oftentimes, they'll represent network segments. Oftentimes, they'll represent things like BYOD or bring your own device policies. Or they can be defined to meet any particular set of criteria that means something to the customer. Boundaries are incredibly important because they also carry business impact, which in turn affects the risk scoring of all devices within that boundary. In order to really understand how deep Armis sees these assets, let's switch over to our tabular view, and I'll click into one of our many devices here for a deeper investigation. If I click the bar, I'll see a side panel with some basic device information as an overview. But if I actually want to click into this asset and show you everything Armis knows about it, I can do so and navigate to my Inventory tab. The Inventory tab will, like I said, show me everything Armis knows about this particular device. The data source icons next to each attribute indicate where Armis sees this value from. In this case, the name of our asset is seen in many locations. You also see the Armis logo, which indicates that our knowledge base, that asset intelligence engine I mentioned before, is at work here to triangulate, normalize, and deduplicate an asset across different sources so that we can, with a very high confidence, say that yes, this name and fully qualified domain name represent one singular asset. As I scroll down, you'll see many more attributes with their corresponding values, including user information, including make, model, brand information, and also pulling specific attributes from specific integration points that wouldn't be known by other tools. We'll see status information regarding particular agents or technologies running against this laptop. We also will see very deep OS and firmware information, which oftentimes allows Armis to extract deep vulnerability information regarding this particular device. We show security attributes, lifecycle information, the list goes on and on. Now, as I come back up to the top, you'll see there are more tabs than just an inventory tab. That is because Armis is more than just an inventory platform. Not only do we know what this device is, but we know what it's doing on the network. So if I scroll out here and show you all of the IP connections that this device has made over the last 7 days, like we have at the top here, you'll see how much traffic is outgoing, if there is any incoming, and importantly, what protocol is in use, how much traffic is being sent, and what is the destination IP. Now, this information is really important for network engineers who need to understand forensically what a device is doing, what ports is it hitting, and what services is it accessing. This IP information might not be super informative for just everyone, though. So Armis also breaks down what we see this asset doing into plain English, into this Activities tab. If you look at the activity type column, you'll see things like HTTP request, SSL connection, application usage, connection to Wi-Fi being started and terminated, DNS queries. But you'll also notice certain activity types that we categorize as threat detected. When Armis detects a threat, we'll actually provide full information on what happened, as well as a PCAP file for our customers to be able to process this information with their SOC or incident response team. Now, all of this information regarding what an asset is and what it's doing bubble up to provide a device risk score per device. This risk score is a calculation combining what a device innately is, what it's doing, what it means to your business, and what protections or compensating controls might be in place that effectively reduce the risk score. You see these fields represented on the right-hand side. For what a device is and what a device is doing, Armis bubbles up everything I just showed you into what we call risk factors. Risk factors can be profile-based, like the one I'm showing here, where an end-of-life operating system is in use. Its end-of-life date was back in 2022. We'll provide an overview of what happened, and we'll provide the remediation steps that Armis recommends. Now, this information can be transferred into our Viper platform that you'll see in another demo for effectively taking those remediation actions. Within AMS, we're just providing it to you as context for the risk prioritization of this device. Risk factors can also be behavioral in nature. Now, at a high level, we'll also tell you what vulnerabilities are associated with this particular device. Vulnerabilities, in this sense, do represent CVEs. Our Armis Centrix for VMDR platform will dive deeper into this use case. The last two components of the risk score I mentioned, what an asset means to your business and what compensating controls are in place, are represented here as well, with a calculation that provides us an overall device risk score per device. If at any point we realize this device is a risk to your environment, if it is acting in a way that needs to be blocked immediately, we can always take the option of enforcing this device. When we enforce a device, we'll leverage existing network-based integrations within a customer's environment. Something like Palo Alto or Cisco ICE or Fortinet's FortiGate will allow us to leverage existing policies In this case, I'll select the workstation policy, and I can actually enforce the device ad hoc right here. I can also do this smartly, more programmatically, through the use of a policy to detect a particular type of quality or behavior and have this run as an automated, constantly operating policy. Now, it's important to keep in mind when we go deep into this one device that Armis provides this level of detail across all devices, including OT, IoT, and medical devices. I won't touch on those specifically within this demo because there are other modules within the Armis Centrix platform that focus more deeply on those devices with additional features and functionalities in the platform. But it is important to understand that Armis Centrix, as a cyber exposure platform, does support all types of assets as defined earlier. Some feedback we've gotten from customers over the years is that Armis provides great data. But how can we help our customers retrieve more value from the data that we provide? So a few ways to do this are through our out-of-the-box reporting. The exposure management dashboard provides a really great view for an executive-level overview of how an overall risk score and how risk score is broken down by site or by boundary, as well as by risk group, can be really valuable to see over a 30-day trend. However, we can also go one step further, and instead of just offering out-of-the-box dashboards and reports that are customizable, Armis has introduced the Centrix AI Assistant. The Centrix AI Assistant is always here for you to ask questions about how to use the platform, what devices are at most risk in my environment, where do I need to focus my efforts today. But there is a new feature that allows our Centrix AI Assistant to produce very comprehensive dashboards that can be regenerated per request. If I look at my search history, you'll see an example of one that I ran just about an hour ago. I prompted the system to provide me with a dashboard to show comprehensive gap analysis across all categories of tooling in my environment. What happened when I created this was a comprehensive IT, security, and OT gap analysis dashboard. This took about 5 minutes to create with just that one simple prompt. And what you can see here is a clear breakdown of where there is gap analysis across my security and IT tools. I can see how many devices are not being scanned by any traditional vulnerability scanners. I can understand where we have a patch management need, and I can understand where do I not have computers joined to Active Directory or seen by my NAC or handhelds managed by an MDM system. If I scroll down, it will also show me my unmanaged versus managed device distribution and where I have indicators of technical debt or poor security hygiene. Things like unencrypted traffic is in use, perimeter evasion has been detected, SMB v1 is in use, or, critically, sensitive data is being transmitted over the wire. I can understand my integration and data source coverage map and how my network boundaries are segmented. This Centrix AI Assistant has many other use cases as well. Because of all of the data that Armis collects, I have a few other versions I'd like to show you. I can show you this dashboard, which is a ransomware preparedness scorecard. It provides a full maturity assessment with key findings and remediation and mitigation suggestions. I can also show you a network segmentation remediation report. This provides very easy value to your network team or your network engineering team who's responsible for ensuring that the network is constructed in a way that meets corporate standards. And lastly, while it may not be the most interesting use case, I can show you how Armis can aid very easily in compliance reporting. In this case, we asked the Centrix AI Assistant to align to the NIST Cybersecurity framework and show me some key metrics, where we fall on a maturity assessment, and what the landscape looks like, among other domain recommendations broken down by framework item. So now, all the data that I've shown you is very easy to consume and share across your organization, of course, following proper role-based access control. I mentioned at the start of this demo that it would culminate in sharing how this data feeds the ServiceNow CMDB. And the truth is, there are a number of ways to do this. If I navigate to the ServiceNow store and search for Armis, I see all 5 current ways to integrate with ServiceNow. The one that's most useful for our customers who are looking to bring Armis asset data and exposure data into the ServiceNow CMDB will be the Service Graph connector for Armis. And I have a quick example of what it looks like when a customer actually employs this. On the left-hand side, you can see all of our devices and a screenshot of one particular device and what those exact devices and inventory views look like within the ServiceNow CMDB. So in summary, Armis Centrix for asset management and security helps our customers eliminate their blind spots with unified asset and exposure intelligence. And in an ideal state, we're pushing all of this data into the ServiceNow CMDB because it's the critical tool that's embedded in your customers' workflows. It has their change control processes. It's what they're familiar with. We provide the full asset inventory across all asset types. We report on IT and security hygiene. We aid in internal and external compliance reporting. We help with network segmentation and enforcement. And of course, we provide insights into network threat detection. Armis Centrix for asset management and security is truly a comprehensive, holistic cyber exposure management platform, and its ability to enrich the ServiceNow CMDB is something that we need to tell all ServiceNow CMDB customers.